'Cause we're walking worlds and we're talking worlds with Pedro. Yeah, we're walking worlds and we're talking worlds with Pedro. Brian's here too, he's here to ask questions for you about D&D or really anything. 'Cause we're walking worlds and we're talking worlds with Pedro. Onto the show! Let's get on to the show! Here we go! Faded. Worldwalkers.
Everything okay?
Yeah. Last time I came in all happy and smooth.
I was like, oh, maybe he's not joking. All right, let's go. Let's do this.
Oh man. Yeah, let us know how our volume is, but we're gonna just jump right into it. My name is Pedro. This is Brian. The pose.
How's it going?
Welcome to World Talkers. World Talkers is our weekly get-together where we discuss the latest happenings in World Talkers and then take questions about anything from the lore between World Walkers, the other games that are happening right now, or like basically advice, GMing advice, parenting advice maybe? I guess it's up to you. The power is yours. But yeah, so that's me.
Yeah. So let's get started because the last episode was a big one for
I
lore,
was
and
super excited to share that one. Like I've been waiting a while for that.
So okay. So let's just start. I made a bulleted list of everything that happens, and I have questions for each one because I feel like there was a question at every turn. So
do you feel the World Walkers answered your questions or asked the questions you wanted? Because I know previously you had expressed.
Yes.
Okay.
Finally. I only had to wait 42 episodes.
57.
No, it's great though. It's great though. Well, but it wasn't the first question.
Oh, right on.
But so you start out with a kind of a recap. That you include a letter that they suddenly got from out of nowhere.
Yeah. Do you want the You want the story on that?
Was this a retcon?
It wasn't a retcon per se. So the idea here's what really happens. So, in episode 56, I think, or maybe one before that, the gist is this: is that we knew con season was coming up, and so I created a whole system for how to handle con season because this was our first con season situation. So True. One of the things we came up with is that Enzo had talked previously about wanting to kind of switch his character up. He wasn't sure if he liked everything about Ranger, and so we came up with this idea of like, well, he wants to make some changes, and he was eyeing a couple things in particular, and he came up with what is that? Cool. I don't know. It's like this huge ringing noise. So it was like a cheer or something. Or if someone gave me something, thank you. I don't know what it was. They just went like bloom, bloom, bloom. So yeah. It doesn't tell me what. It just gave me nice happy noises. So yeah, he wanted to change his character up. And then I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think he changed his mind and just showed up to the next game session. And I was like, oh, shit. I don't want him to just sit back and watch what happens. So I quickly, right before the game, I wrote up this whole little Groundhog's Day scenario, they call it, and let him kind of work his way back in real fast. Because he, like I said, he changed his mind, didn't want to change his character up. That was supposed to be Roberto's side adventure.
Right.
And so I had a note drop that said like, because I wanted to think of a way for them to move on without going like, for role playing it properly, going, my God, my brother. Right. I'm not leaving without my brother. Like, so I wanted to leave like a legit reason for them to move on, but then like Enzo changed his mind. So maybe there's more to it now. I don't want to I don't want to misrepresent, but I think that's what it was. Is that Enzo was like, "Nah, I don't want to do that right now." And so, yeah,
con season's a busy time.
It's a crazy busy time.
Well, cool. Well, speaking of Groundhog Day, who are the people that helped him?
To know
more about them.
So the gist is that like, Patch has people that kind of walk the perimeter of the tavern at the end of Dreams, and they're known as the Horizon Walkers because that's the subclass, the Ranger subclass that I think Enzo was looking at, which was like it was in, at the time, I think it was essentially in betas, and it was called Unearthed Arcana, which is the D&D kind of beta system. So he was looking at that. So the leader of the Horizon Walkers her name is Horizon, and they find portals is their thing. So these kind of this group, this guild of Rangers, walks the edge of the tavern at the end of Dreams to protect it, because again, the whole idea is Patch can't reveal himself. It would be terrible if the Nightmares knew anything about what's going on.
Right. Which we'll get to in a little bit. Well, that's cool.
Wesley, I only sound kind of like that.
My brother. It's like every episode of Supernatural.
Sam.
It is though. I love the show, but it's just that. So yeah. Do they come back at all? That in the future, are we going to see more of them or?
Well, normally I like to play it coy and be like, "Oh, who no, they haven't come back yet."
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I don't want to like have. I don't want to have someone who goes like, "Oh my god, I absolutely love these people. I'm gonna listen till they come back." I mean, that would be nice because I'd have a listener for life. But like, at the moment, no, they that was their little moment in the story so far. So,
are they very quiet? Am I going deaf? Did you have another person saying we're
all
quiet?
Right. Oh, we had two people say we're quiet?
No, one. Oh,
okay. Well, hold on. Every now and then we have to make. Thank you for letting me know. Let me see. It's funny because we change it up, and then somebody every time we change it, I got to increase the number.
Well, while you're doing the volume, I will answer Data's silly question.
So you guys let me know. The volume has been changed, so let me know.
He asks, what's the difference between parenting and running a group? Nothing.
No,
all like herding cats.
No, we're all here for the same reason when it's parenting. It is not that that's not the case for me with Willow. Like sometimes we're on the same team. Other times she's like, "You have to be stopped, Daddy."
Open rebellion.
Yeah, so let me know if that sound did anything for you guys. But
open rebellion. A group will sometimes do what you want.
Yeah,
that's
so
true. That is a difference. That is a difference. That's fair. That's a fair difference. All right, so let's move along. So we see Patch again.
Yeah.
And we learn more about the Nightmares. I was curious though. Did that interaction between them and Patch go like you thought it would?
Yep. I had written the whole. I mean, like, I knew. I guess I will say I thought that there'd be a little more like kind of like fear of God kind of scenario at some point.
Yeah.
Even when I was editing it, I had the dramatic music, but they keep making jokes, and I'm like, "Oh man, is this gonna play well?" And I did the whole thing without cutting out their laughter and stuff, and I was like, "This is exactly how it felt." Like in my head, this was a very dramatic, crazy moment. What a crazy reveal! And they're still like, "You piece of shit! How could you not do better by us?" And I was like, "This plays." So I left all the crazy music in, and
still calling him Kevin.
Still calling him Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that played out exactly like I thought it would.
That's funny. I kept wondering because I knew you like Patch is so straight, Like you play him so straight laced. Like he's like this is really important. I really didn't think I'd have to tell you these things.
Mm-hmm.
Why in God's name would you show the nightmares the shard? Like, and they're just. But
you hear Megan in the background at one point. She's like, "It was super effective." Like she's
yes. They're like, well, it worked really well, though.
Yeah.
But then I will say that Megan then turned to blame almost immediately on a dime. She was like, yeah, it was really effective, but it wasn't me. I was trying to tell them not to. It was probably like the full range of emotion. Like, no, I'm in trouble for this, but it wasn't me, though.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't me. No,
she did it. She did it. It's Ertleby.
Oh man, yeah. No, but that interaction did go pretty much how I thought it would, because I wrote it. Even I thought it would happen. I was worried it would happen fast, because if you notice, like in the beginning, Vassa drops that in right away, and he was like, "Oh, let's not even consider that," because I knew exactly what I wanted to play, but I didn't want it to play right away. I wanted to give him time to kind of marinate first. So.
Well, it's good too. Yeah, exactly. It lets them stew on it. Like he dropped a little hint there, and then they could think about, how bad it was. They didn't seem to care. I will say that, which is fair, because they didn't seem to care when it disappeared in the first place. So that played out really, really well. No.
I remember when that happened back, like in Claiborne's Nightmares, like that section of the podcast when it happened, and I was like, I remember like. Because we play and then I go to bed, and I went to bed that night like, I don't know what to do. Like I sat there and like took notes on my phone real quick, like, oh my God, what do we do with this? And so I kept writing a whole bunch of scenarios out and looking through my notes and like, I could use this, I guess, and going like, all right, well, this would make sense if I tied this with this then, and yeah.
So it was never. So you're never intentional to lose a shard.
No,
in the midst
I thought their interaction with the shard would change back on Obrimos. Way back then, I thought that like all the stuff that happened in the cave would change the way they interact with it, and they used it as a flashlight instead. I was badass. It was a great moment. Like I don't think they did it wrong at all.
It was really very much like Gandalf.
Yeah, it was coming out. It was a badass inspired moment. If they hadn't lost it.
True.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, well, speaking of the lost shard, will we ever know what happens with it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Now the World Walkers don't yet. They haven't found out what happens, but no, that story is going to come together. Yeah, like that. Yeah. I know what happens.
Right. So you've played all that out so far in your head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Risk nothing, lose nothing, Brummelstone says.
Hey, it's fair.
It's true.
What are you gonna do?
No, it's true. Like in the heat of the moment, you don't know what you're supposed to do. You don't know what's gonna work. Like, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, because I will admit, I remember that episode and hearing them start to use the shard, and I was like, oh damn, I never would have thought to use it as a weapon, but this is working really well.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like, oh, they should have held on to that, but things happen, man. All right, let's run.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fine. What's that? Oh yeah. So and then we finally learn a little bit more about Tompkins.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't learn a ton technically, but we do learn a big chunk. So we learn that his family was the one that mapped the rounds.
Yep.
So I was wondering if you could just kind of like talk about those a little bit more, because we've only been in them twice at this point, right? Like, and then on Abrimos, it didn't necessarily seem like they were in something different, because they had already been through tunnels and portals between the gray and tunnels.
Yeah. I don't want
caves, I
to.
guess.
I'm trying to think how much I can say, but essentially the idea is that, like, yeah, the tunnels are essentially, or the rounds are essentially tunnels, passageways that if you go deep enough into a world, you end up in another world, and that works very well for most worlds. The only world it doesn't work with is Pasmos. Pasmos. The whole story of Pasmos was that it was a world that when people went underground, they discovered that their world is made up of a series of dungeons overlapping each other, just levels and levels and levels and levels of dungeons. And they had only just started exploring what that meant for their world when when the world was lost. So it's not easy, like the if Tompkins or people, like, the rounds are not easily navigatable. Is that the word?
Navigable.
There you go. Yeah, they're not
Something
easily
like that.
traversed, because
Nice.
going into Pasmos is easy. Leaving Pasmos is very difficult because it's very hard to find your way back out.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's
so you could technically like pop out in the rounds in the middle of the dungeon underworld.
Yep.
And never make it back out.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sounds like a great place.
Yeah.
Let's all play there.
Yeah. That's weird too, because
Hi, would you like to play in the Demon Hellscape? No.
I've had more requests for running a Pasmos game than anything else. Like, people are all in on the Pasmos game.
It seems pretty great. Are there a bunch of tieflings there?
There are.
Awesome.
No, it's because every world has a little, like, either a small or a major twist. So, like, on Pasmos, you cannot play as a human.
Oh,
and
okay.
you can't play as an elf either. You can play as drow, you can play as tiefling, you can play as underground races, and the whole point of that game is the idea that
they wouldn't be able to see.
Right. Only you can't play races that can't see underground, otherwise it's worthless. So the whole point of that game, in part, is to start searching for other communities, other races, other cultures, and decide if you can safely bring them into your own. And then
That's
if you
cool.
do, races start to become unlocked to be played.
I have to admit, and that's one thing about, like, your worlds all have different races and stuff that are available for players and stuff. And I was listening in on the Menroth game last night, and you were like, "It's a gnome," and I was like, "A gnome? Oh, right, that's Cog. Never mind, it's fine. Normal gnomes."
Well, no, it's different though, because, like, as they kind of on Wednesdays we play World Walkers Menroth, and it's a different group, and they're traversing through Vassa's home world, and they kind of started getting a peek at the difference, because this gnome is from a different area entirely on the planet, and where she comes from, bards don't use music. They're storytellers. So she was actually kind of in a meta sort of way narrating the fight. So even though she is a gnome and they have gnomes, the gnomes of Menroth on the mainland are very different than that island. The gnomes on the mainland, most of them are what are considered history keepers. They are from a city called Hobbsbon, and their whole point is to transcribe true history. Whatever they write in their books becomes the true and unmalleable facts of Menroth, and they're there to keep Menroth safe from things like time travel. But she comes from the island. She's completely different.
That sounds very similar to a different group of people.
Oh, really? Like in my stuff, or?
Yeah, that sounds a lot like some people on Obrimos, but they seem to have gone rogue.
Different. I think if you're talking about the group from the Grand City State of Tremessa, they're trying to crack the multiple timelines and the broken fragments of Obrimos, because Obrimos has existed multiple times before. In a certain sense, the gnomes of Hobbsbon are working to directly prevent that sort of scenario from ever happening in a certain sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Eric
yes,
just
your
saw
art is on the board. It's the coolest. Well, I mean, there are
badass.
two images.
No,
there are two images of Patch, and this one is also very cool. The
No,
other one is pretty cool, I guess. Frank.
I showed I showed the World Walkers and they were freaking out about it. They loved it. So
it's really cool.
yeah.
Okay, cool. That's neat. Let's see.
And
So
that's the other
Tompkins
thing
is
too,
also
is
super old. Oh, what? Go ahead.
super. I was gonna say, like, yeah, like the other thing I like doing is, like, if you're a member of our Patreon at patreon.com/worldwalkers, the campaign guide,
Blah, blah,
as
blah.
the podcast opens up and finds more races, I start putting them in that campaign guide. So like, yeah, I changed some information on the gunslingers after a certain episode, and then I also added in a little bit more on the races. Like once I got to Cog, the goblins were added into that campaign guide, I believe.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that is a really cool thing that you can get to look at, though, is the campaign guide. If you are a patron, it's really neat, and you'll find out a lot of neat background information about.
And there's still little clues about the podcast in there. I think I mentioned before too. Like I gave the campaign guide out.
Maybe.
What?
Just like maybe you'll
Did I
have
say
to check it out.
Oh no, sorry, there really is.
No, I know.
Oh, okay. I thought you said me. I thought I was teasing.
I'm trying to be,
Oh no, I straight up is there's like one or two little clues left. I don't think anyone's found, but I forgot what I was saying now. But yeah, I updated as the podcast grows. I update it with more options because the World Walkers get more options as they explore more worlds.
So Brummelstone just suddenly turns into a goblin.
Well, it's more like if any of them die, they've got new options. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Who's dead?
It's a great question. All I'm going to say is that I'm editing June of 2017 right now. There's plenty of time for player character deaths.
Plenty of time for deaths. Like Avengers of Infinity War up in here.
Well, there's two things you can believe. You can either believe A, that no one's died, or you can believe that all of the players are stone cold, stone faced, amazing liars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, let me figure out about that. Eric's pointing out that like we can't stream lower than a certain quality. I don't know why. You're the second person to bring that up. So
yeah, there's no real way to do it.
Yeah,
that's a Twitch setting.
Is it really? I wonder if I could broadcast lower though. I don't know. I'm gonna look into it. Brian, poppycock. I'm gonna look into it and see if I can do something about that.
Yeah, 720 is about as low as we go here. Okay.
Nameless PC, aka Brummelstone, is saying in game or just inside. I'm not sure what that's in regards to. So
deaths, character deaths.
Oh. The person that runs Nameless PC's account now sounds just like Wes. It's insane.
It's true.
But yeah, so
all right. Well, let's jump back.
Yep.
So Tompkins is really old.
Yeah.
Which we knew technically. We did. There were a lot of context clues.
Yeah. And then you kind of get the first hint inside of the exclusive episode The Travelers on Patreon because you'll have to listen to it. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but like you get a hint as to how old he is in that one too.
Yeah, that's true because his family's still there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so here again, spoilers. If you haven't listened to the episode, you shouldn't be listening.
Yeah, but, spoilers in 3, 2, 1.
So his family's super old and they're dead, and he's really old, and so we had hints about that, but now we're going back through. Here, wait. These questions are out of order. 1 second.
No problem.
So yeah, so so they find him and he's like very childlike. But I was curious, like, why?
Why?
Like why? Yeah, like has he just like forced himself to forget, or like what's going on?
That seems to be the case essentially. It's kind of what Patch hints at, is the idea that, like, you know, Tompkins comes to the dream world and he essentially gets time to forget. Because he doesn't seem to remember anything. As he comes to worlds, he starts to remember, because like being face to face with the locations and the worlds forces him to face things that he's like essentially long since buried. So, Patch mentions in the episode that when he found Tompkins, he wasn't sure, but it seemed like Tompkins had pretty much found a place to let go. And bringing him back and giving him something, letting him get lost in the dreams of first Stardust and then Mercurius, kind of, while it did him some good, it seems, and he seems like a fairly happy individual overall, it's also allowed him to, the way I figure is like that's how he processed it. Whatever happened to him, he put it away, and that's, for better or worse, how he dealt with what happened.
Right.
Yeah. By ignoring it and not dealing with it.
Oh man, I want to know more, and I know that we just have to wait.
Yeah.
It's the worst part. It's like, I know it's an ongoing show, and it's clearly a big portion of the show is about him. So I'll tuck in my feelings and questions a little
That's
bit.
what someone asked, like, what happens if he dies? And I was like, oh man, you'd lose a lot of story.
Yeah, because we've been getting hints at him being super old a lot. Yep. Actually, and I was trying to think of like as many of the things, because the first time we meet him, he is like, especially without any visual reference, we assume he's a child.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they're like, hey, can we have some armor? And he's like, here's a house. And you're like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? What's happening?
Yeah, well, especially because when they first meet him, the only thing he does is he's an architect. He builds houses, and they come to him and they're like, we need armor. And he's like, well, the only thing I build is houses, so give me a second. But like, if I went to a bakery and I was like, I need a car, maybe the baker would make me like a car cake. Like,
you're right, exactly. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Surely they don't mean, a V6, like.
Right. Let's see. But then at some point he knew his way around Obrimos, which was kind of a like, why do you know your way around here? You're from this place. But also, was it in Obrimos that we got the first mention, really off the cuff mention of his wife? And everybody was like, you're what now?
Was it Obrimos?
No,
I thought it was in Cog.
Like early on in Cog then, right? Either way. There's a
mention I can
of his
say
wife being long gone.
He mentions, God, I'm pretty sure he mentions in the second half of the Cog storyline, essentially, when they reunite with him, they talk about he's really surprised at what Hallam is, because in his day, Hallam was a traveling merchants guild. They're called the Merchant House of Hallam, and in his day, they weren't anything like they are now. Like, they're like this massive capitalistic shopping center that Brummelstone loves. Yeah, he talks about his wife in that context, because she was the daughter of the guildmaster.
Confirmed.
Yeah, see, Lord Potter knows.
Yep. Hey, what do I know?
Hell yeah. So Johnny asks, when will Vassa propose to Patch, aka JP, aka the King of Dreams? That's really funny. JP is a nickname that comes from the episode that's up on Patreon right now. If no one knows what that means, that's actually episode 58, which is, what's it called? Inside Vassa is Screaming is what it's called. Yeah. When does he? I don't think Vassa. You know what's funny? If someone was going to propose, it would be Vassa, wouldn't it?
Right. Yes.
No one else is going to propose to Vassa. Not on her watch.
Terrified.
Yeah. And Data points out, Tompkins' life gets worse as he remembers more of it. If he's following it to the end. That's very insightful.
Yep. That was actually one of mine too. It's like, well, like, will he age as time goes on? Like, as the story progresses? Maybe. That's the look of like, you'll have to find out. I guess. But yeah, I mean, we have noticed though that he's starting to remember random things as he goes along, like his wife. Well, there were a lot of things on Cog that he did not remember being that way. Like when they went to the field, right? That was
that was.
He was like, "This isn't what it was like before."
It's a beautiful field, yeah. And he remembers it. It's not. This is one of the things that's not explicitly said in the podcast, but I hope that it's evident that you know why he remembers that field, right?
The pre-war.
But do you remember why he remembers it? Because that's the cave that leads to
where the rounds are.
Right. That's why he's familiar with that area. That's why he can talk about a field.
Right.
Like if there was nothing there, why would he know about it? Because that's the place that his parents and him used to hang out at when they would come to Cog. Yeah.
It used to be such a nice picnic spot.
It was great. It was a picnic. What Data? Pedro Galicia. Oh yeah, where he's crying. Yeah.
What influence does the Red Hot Chili Peppers have on the World Walkers?
Hell yeah! Multiverse? This whole thing is basically just my love letter to Anthony Kiedis. Like, I'm trying to think. There might be a few in there. Give me a second to think, because some of that stuff I hide really like a long time ago. I wanted to tie it in with Chrono Cross, because Chrono Cross has a Red Hot Chili Peppers nod in it. If you didn't know that, the people that work for Magus or Magus, depending what time you heard that name, Slash and Flea are two of his minions, and I was trying to figure out how I could put them in World Walkers to be both a Red Hot Chili Peppers nod. And Kiedis is, I think, the name of a city in one of my worlds. I gotta look it up and see which one. I think it's on Cog, but I don't think anyone's heard it yet on the podcast. Like, it's just a place that like my other games have been to. Yeah.
Chrono Trigger.
Hell yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So let's see. So poor Tompkins. Sad story.
As Kazalt 376 points out too, Chrono Trigger itself, because it's tied to Red Hot Chili Peppers, had a huge effect on me, because it's all about time portals and stuff. So, but that's for another time. Sorry, you're saying
I would have to do some research into Red Hot Chili Peppers before.
You should be doing that anyway.
Yeah, well, we've been over this. You'll have to go back through my stream to figure that one out. Let's see. But we learned that Tompkins can fix forged.
Yep.
Just kind of, all kinds from different worlds.
He's an engineer. He can repair. He can.
But I did have a question. Like, what does that mean for the future of our two forged characters? Like, is that going to come back into play, or is that only something he can do in the dream world?
It seems to be only something he can do in the dream world. So while he's repairing tin, she notes that he seems to be using the tools not as actual tools, but as the spell components for his work, as a shoddy way of describing it, in that like he's manipulating dream stuff to do it.
Right.
So in the real world, if he took the time and he had the right tools, it's possible, but
Mm.
Tompkins doesn't really believe he can do that stuff.
Right.
So that's why he was like mapping them out and putting drawings all over them and stuff, because he doesn't actually think he knows what he's doing. He's just like having fun. So him trying to do it in the real world would be really impressive. And then there's also the problem of like, the forged, both versions, the ones from Obrimos and Cog, they respond to healing magic in a way that you wouldn't necessarily think. You wouldn't think that casting a cure spell on a piece of metal would fix it. But
right.
The way that they're tied intricately either into the elements or to the arcane allows them to respond to divine magic in a way. So, yeah, that might be part of what's happening on the dream side. But whether or not he could do it outside seems trickier.
We believe in you, Tompkins. All right. Let's see. Oh wow, we are doing tight on time here.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see. No, it's good. Okay. Everyone gets to experience a little bit of the Dreaming Tree's power in this episode.
Yeah.
And it really seems like people were taken aback by the memories.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about writing those moments for them?
Honestly, you really want to know?
Yeah.
So, my mother passed away a few years ago, and when it happened, and I had to kind of put together the funeral, one of the first things I did is I have a box of records. When I was young, my mom and I would sit down and we would listen to music all the time. She loved music. So a big part of my life is music. And I created a playlist on Spotify to kind of play during the funeral, like before and after and stuff like that. And then I had songs that I played at certain moments in the funeral as well to kind of highlight different moments of her life. And what I honestly did is I sat down and I put on my mother's playlist and I just wrote memories as if I were writing moments of my time with my mom. Because when I write the sad scenes in the game, it's what I do is I find really depressing, sad music or sad moments, and I try to drive myself as far into it as possible so that I hit the right notes. So
it seems to have worked.
Thanks. But that's how I write. And it was just like with fight scenes, I find like the best possible fight music I've ever heard in movies and scenes and stuff like that. And I'll pick a song and I'll play it on loop over and over and over again. There is a song,
Everybody was kung fu fighting, of course.
That was my mom's favorite song. No, it actually comes from Chrono Trigger, and I'm gonna post a link to it in the chat.
Nice.
And let's see if it plays. So I listened to that song on loop in order to pull off some of those moments. Yeah. I've been trying to go through this fast enough. If you'll permit me, Roberto gave me the permission to read his memories.
Oh, really?
So if people want to hear them, I'm going to post them on Patreon with the rest of them. But if people want, I can go through them here too. But I can't find them fast enough.
Would you guys like to hear the memories that are only available to Patreon subscribers? Exclusives.
Yeah.
Exclusive to World Talkers.
Yeah. So if people want to hear, I got them right here. I just pulled them out. So I got one. Yes. So I'll read them real quick if you want me to read them.
Yeah, go for it.
So Roberto had 3 memories. So in the moment that you're talking about, if you guys don't know, the Dreaming Tree, they get their first experience with the Dreaming Tree. The idea being that the Dreaming Tree, everyone's had experience with the Dreaming Tree. The Dreaming Tree connects all dreamers to all dreams. But this is their first sentient experience with it, if you will. And so they started having memories rush through them. And Roberto's, the first one was, you opened your eyes and you saw him. He looked weathered and defeated, but there was a strength buried in him that you could see even before you knew him. You looked around to see yourself in a grand hall with large pillars and runes etched everywhere. Gnomes were scattered about the room, looking proud of work you weren't aware of. The old man explained that you had just been born, brought into this world from a stone that now served as your heart. He introduced you to your brother, a dwarf in need of a cloak. Much of what he said was too much for you to take in at the time, but what mattered was this. You had a vague sense of existence before, and now you had a family. So that's like one of the memories. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want me to keep reading these. Like, there's two more, but yeah. What else do we got? I don't want to take all your time. Sorry.
No,
hey,
this
Wizwar.
This is our time.
Okay. Oh, Johnny asks, I'm going to answer this real quick. Is the Tree of Dreams influenced any from the World Tree from Thor Norse mythology? Not directly by me. The Dreaming Tree is actually entirely based around the song from the Dave Matthews Band. They have a song on Before These Crowded Streets called The Dreaming Tree, and it starts off, I think it's Before These Crowded Streets, long before these crowded streets, an old man said to me, something like, what progress, I can't remember the lines now. I'm on the spot now, I can't remember it, yeah. But anyway, that's the whole thing comes from that, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you guys want to hear more of them, we can keep reading them. It's totally fine.
Yeah. If they want another one, let me know. But yeah. Anything else you got?
Yeah. So if you want to hear those, you can hear them and read them on Patreon.
Yeah. All the memories are on Patreon. The Roberto didn't he didn't see the message at the time, so he didn't know. Yeah, standing here, the old man said to me, long before these crowded streets, here stood my dreaming tree. Yep. Below it he would sit for hours at a time. Now progress takes away what forever took to find. And so like all of Stardust and all that stuff is based around that.
Nice. Yep. That's cool. So then, let's see. So let's move. So they all had sad dreams.
No, not all of them.
No, I mean they were good. Okay. Everybody had emotions. They got the feels, as the kids would say these days.
Yeah, Megan said I didn't ask for this feels trip, I think she said.
Which is funny because they had such a they were goofing off so much this episode, which is great. But yeah, to like jerk them so hard in the other direction is hilarious. So then, but then once they get into talking about how terrible it is that they lost a shard, Patch then takes off the mantle, and the mantle flies into the nightmares.
Yep.
Which was confusing. Yeah, is the mantle going to find the shard, or is Patch going to find the shard?
Essentially, it's kind of a split personality thing that, like, the mantle, the responsibility that Patch shoulders, has since kind of become one with him, and so there is a piece, like he's sending all of his power off into the nightmare realm. Whatever was there before he became the Dream King is all that's left. And that means he's just a simple adventurer. I mean, he's still an adventurer. He's still got his tricks up his sleeve like any adventurer, but yeah. What's up?
Shut up, Johnny. Jim Carrey is Patch is like Jim Carrey in The Mask.
Yeah, he's
That's really funny.
In a sense, that's
like
Eric.
That.
It's sort of. I mean, in a sense, yeah. It's like the player that used to play Patch, eventually accepted that, and he retired his character and turned him over to me, and then he became the guardian of the Dreaming Tree, the King of Dreams, or whatever. And like every world basically has a different story of Patch they just know him as a different name. So that's why he has so many names.
That's cool. And now he's known as Kevin.
Man.
That's hilarious. So I didn't listen to the newest episode, the Patreon episode, because I didn't want to know. I wanted to try it coming into this episode, but now I feel like maybe I'm just asking questions that immediately get answered in the next episode.
Okay.
But whatever. I'm with everybody. I'm with the norm. I'm a normie today.
I'm of the people.
I'm a people person now.
Yeah.
So like, Patch becomes a person, regular adventurer. Is he like following the group now? Is he running off to do his own adventures?
That is talked about in the next episode. So yeah,
knew it.
Sorry.
I guess that's where they get the JP part from.
Yes.
So I should know that, even just from.
Yeah, Vassa. I forget who names him, but they say like, "Well, we need a new nickname for you." And it's like, "What about Just Patch? He's Just Patch now, JP."
JP.
Yeah,
that's great. That's awesome. Let's see. I thought we had a question in here.
There's one or two.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay, good question. In the stream, party learned about 7 deaths.
Yeah, in last night's stream, they found out that like they were the dwarves of Ulermic, the dwarves of Menroth, are a little bit unique of the other races because they have an exact myth as to how exactly they're going to die, and they believe it full on. Like it's sort of like Revelations in a way, but way more specific, and they believe that 7 deaths will come for them and they'll wipe the kingdom away. They'll wipe the dwarves off of Menroth. And last night, the group on the Wednesday night stream, they faced the 4th one. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. And there was
terrifying.
There was a character in that, and a group of adventurers comes and helps them, and one of them was a warlock whose patron was the Endless Slumber. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I basically last night what I did actually honestly is I previewed different things I'm working on. So I'm working on a barbarian who gets more powerful as like a barbarian subclass that gets more powerful as their friends go down in battle. And then I'm working on a druid subclass that never shapeshifts into animals, only elementals. And then I'm working on a bringing warlocks into my games through new patrons, and one of them being essentially Patch, the Endless Dream. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was like my way to sneak peek it without officially announcing it, just in case I don't like what I write and I scrap it.
It's a good way to play. You're play testing.
Kind of, yeah. It was a good way to plan to play test it out a little bit.
Well, the other thing is if you guys aren't watching the stream, I was able to watch a little bit of it last night, and we actually saw. Well, they saw some extra worlds that we haven't actually seen before.
Yeah, that was exciting.
So,
that was, yeah.
There's a hellscape at some point, and
Well, no, they can't figure out. They think they either landed on the hellscape, a post-apocalyptic world of Pasmos, or they think they've landed in the land of the dead. They call it, which is like this barren deadscape that exists on Menroth. I don't know if they know for sure which one they ended up on. So
it's really awesome, but it was really interesting.
And they also landed on another new world too.
Did they?
They did. You missed the one. You missed Kellet.
Daggum.
Yeah, they met a nice old hermit named Kellet.
Oh, I did. I heard. Yeah. Anyways, it's in and out, but you should definitely catch out, man. You better catch out that stream. Go back and watch it. It's in
better check up and catch out, man.
Check up and catch out.
I did think of Eric when I started describing that. Eric's like, because Eric's really into Pasmos, so like when that happened, I was like, I wonder if Eric's watching.
Yeah. Hey man, check out the stream. You never know when they might accidentally go to another world.
Yeah, for those that don't know, they are misfiring on an amulet of the plains, and if you do it wrong, it can take you to some bad places. Or some good places, depending on where you want to go.
Third time's the charm.
They eventually got back, so that's the important part.
It is. It's awesome. So yeah, so let's talk about Menroth for the game Menroth, because we don't usually talk about that.
Yeah.
What are some? Can you give us like kind of a short-ish overview of like where they?
Yeah.
What's kind of like what's
the recap.
Happened. Yeah.
The real quick recap is that a group of adventurers are summoned by a duke underneath the kingdom of Carlos, which is kind of like and honestly, like from a meta standpoint, it's the main human-styled kingdom of Menroth, just to give the flavor real fast. The duke wants them to work with him on something, but he's royalty, so he doesn't think he has to explain himself, and he also kind of wants to see if they're trustworthy, and so he brings the group in on a thing, and it doesn't work out. The duke never earned their trust, and the group decided to go other no, for real. I think I can talk about that subject for a second. I think that we as DMs become very obsessed with the way our story needs to play out, and we don't take into account two things. Players assume that we're going to have a great plot twist, and because they don't want to get Shyamalan'd, they never know which NPC is secretly there to fuck them. Right. And as a DM, it's your job to understand that hesitance. The second thing is that most of us work shitty jobs, and we don't want to have bosses. So it really sucks to play D&D and have a fucking boss. And as a DM, you need to remember that too. So like, it's my fault. I put them in a situation, and I never earned, even though it makes story sense that the Duke wouldn't just trust them.
Right.
That's bullshit. I should have remembered how things work, not how things should work, because he's royalty. So the Duke never earned their trust. And so they went off, and while they were having these adventures, they eventually came back and learned the Duke was recruiting adventurers because he fully believes that the dragons are on the verge of invading all of Menroth. They found out that the dragons used to be trapped. They've now been released. They've already taken the most powerful kingdom on the continent. And it's only a matter of time, the Duke believes, before they move out of that city and start taking the rest of the continent. So he wants them to find the biggest, baddest, most dangerous artifacts on the fucking planet and start wiping out the dragons until they either give up or go extinct. And
You gotta one up them.
So you keep laughing. I'm wondering what's happening in the chat now.
Oh, sorry. Wes had a comment that he said if you have a high enough charisma, all the NPCs.
Oh God. Lord Potter asked, how many games do you have going? How do you keep them straight? I have a Tuesday group, which takes place in the System Savage Worlds, and it's the ongoing story of Cog. Which pretty soon an important NPC from World Walkers is going to show up there, so I'm really excited about that. Wednesday night, I run World Walkers Menroth, which is the Vassa's world. And then Friday nights, I run World Walkers Main, World Walkers Proper, and Prime. World Walkers Prime. Thank you. I couldn't remember the word. World Walkers Prime, and then I don't have all my details yet, but we're going to be starting a live stream game on Mondays coming up really, really soon. And it's going to take place, I don't want to say the world yet, but it's going to take place with the Pathfinder system. I'm getting the players caught up on that, and we're going to chronicle Pathfinder's first edition and then move into the second edition. So we'll be essentially playtesting it live for everyone to watch. So I'm super fucking excited about that. But the way I keep it all straight is very hard, because what I do is after every game, I try to take a few quick notes so I don't forget important stuff. And then I have a prepping method that's really shortened up my prep time, so I can prep the day of a game and really be up and ready to go. And so what I try to do is I try to keep the stories and the flavors very distinct. So I know that like a lot of my lore and a lot of my world hopping and stuff and digging into the real deep lore of a world, that style of play stays in World Walkers. And then Menroth has been kind of a sandboxy game, so I don't have to keep stuff straight as much, because since it's been so sandboxy, the players let me know where the story is going to go. Now that we're getting into a more focused storyline, I'm going to have to remember that it's going to be essentially a survival game. And then the COG game has been really fun and easy to keep sort of, because it's got a very distinct flavor, because it's partly steampunk. It's got gunslingers in it, and they're struggling with the fact that they've discovered that some of the myths of classic fantasy worlds are still here in COG. That game's going to be live streamed too pretty soon. I'm still setting that up, because that one's going to be like live streamed. But yeah, copious amounts of notes. That's how I keep track of everything. And playlists. I have a playlist I listen to get me in the mood to write for each game. So
that's awesome. That's good.
Yeah,
that is helpful. Music is always a helpful thing for writing. Yeah, do we have a start date for the Monday games?
If you guys don't hold me to it, I would like to start in 2 weeks. Like, I'd like to prep Monday with my group.
Be there.
If you guys don't hold me to it, 3 weeks. I'm glad you didn't hold it to me. Oh man. So
yeah, no, we don't.
Yeah, I guess not. But like,
that's good.
Yeah, between doing all that, I'm releasing behind the screen. So basically, like the notes that I use to run my games, I'm starting to release them on Patreon. I'm wanting to start to write some more information on like some of the race stuff. I want to update the campaign guides because of this. Yeah, like I'm tapped on time. I want to see Black Panther so bad. I'm never gonna get to go see it.
Oh man, yeah. Make time.
Yeah.
Make time. Leave the games alone. For
Workflow forever. Like. Oh man. But
that is funny. Well, it is about that time.
Oh man, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we wrap it up so that you guys can get to Critical Role. So we don't want to hold you up from that. I know a number of you guys jump over there. So you guys got about 3 minutes for that. Any other quick questions?
Yeah, man. Anybody?
Yep. Did you have anything left that you wanted to throw out? Or are they all kind of deeper questions?
I have a
same time next week. Yes.
Yeah. Nothing that I'd like to get into. I actually had a little thing about for the game notes that you just talked about, the behind the screen.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You already covered it, so that worked out.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Just essentially join Patreon, y'all, and join it, because there's a lot of really cool bonus information about the podcast, about how to be a good DM, notes about different things. You get bonus episodes and all of it.
Yeah, and I've been getting more and more requests. I got actually somebody from Chicago had hit me up recently too about like GMing advice and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if I should start putting that stuff up on Patreon too, and start writing like videos or something. If that's something you guys want to see, let me know. I'm really bad at knowing what I'm good at talking about. Are the worlds divergent? Do they start from the same world? Do they open parallel? That is too deep a question to answer, and probably not safe to answer for spoilers.
I'll write it down.
Yeah, but
I'll write it down for future.
Let me think. What else though? But yes, I'm trying to say that. But I also say I always tell people like, you should go if you are interested in what we're doing here. You should go look at Patreon, look at the rewards, and see if you think it's worth it. Like, I appreciate people who just want to support me because they like it. That's awesome. I'm not going to tell you not to, but I also try really hard to make sure that the rewards are worth it. So you should go there and weigh it and see if you think like that stuff is worth it to you. Because if it's not, just listen for free. That's what I do with everyone else. Like, you know what I mean? Like I mean, if you think the rewards are worth it and you want to get in on it, like we have exclusive episodes that you can't hear. Like we have time travel episodes, we have love stories, we've got early episodes, we've got exclusive art. I think these things are cool, but maybe you only listen to World Walkers as one of a number of podcasts you listen to, and you're not so far into it. Like all that the day that you want more, it's there. It's not going anywhere. So yeah, patreon.com/worldwalkers. Check it out. See if you want it. I think it's awesome, but I'm biased as shit. I mean, I have a talk show where I talk about my own shit. I'm fucking biased. Like,
we like it. We like it a lot. That's why you're all here anyways. Don't judge. But it is 10 o'clock.
All right. Well, that's it. Go enjoy Critical Role or whatever else you're doing with your night. And we will hit you up later. Send questions to Brian at the Underfold on Twitter, or his email, which is
Brian@theunderfold.com.
Yep. Or send questions to me. You know how to get hold of me. Yeah. All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
You know what? I didn't have my stop stream button ready, so I can't do that cool, like, where it looks like professional. I just, oh no.